Okay. Welcome to this meeting of the Municipality of Dutton Dunwich Council. I'd just like to bring everyone's attention to our First Nations acknowledgement at the beginning of the agenda. We don't read it every month, but we prominently display it. So if I could get Clerk Tara to get us into this meeting.
Moved by Dryfout, seconded by Pemberton, that the meeting of the Council of the Municipality of Dutton Dunwich opens at 5:00 p.m. All in favor? And that's carried.
Thank you. Does any council member have a declaration of pecuniary interest? Seeing none. And everybody had a chance to look at the meetings from the previous meeting. Clerk Tara.
Moved by Pemberton, seconded by Loveland, that the Council of the Municipality of Dutton Dunwich approves the draft minutes of the January 11th, 2023 meeting forwarded to council members, and the mayor and the clerk are authorized to sign same. All in favor? And that's carried.
Thank you. And a review of items not listed on the agenda. Clerk Tara, do you have anything?
I have nothing to add.
Okay. I would like to have a brief discussion on our bylaw or procedure bylaw for the order of business conducted at council meetings. And I'd also like to bring up the issue of vote breaks during the council meeting, but we'll do that further down in the agenda. Item 5, we have Blackline Consulting, our long-awaited organizational review final report. We have Ian Shelley joining us, and he's going to present his report. Ian, floor is yours.
Thank you, Council. Hopefully you've had a chance to browse the report already, which I believe was circulated a little time ago for you to read through. What I'm going to do is really focus on the executive summary piece of it, give you some colour commentary as we've gone through the review, and then open the floor to questions so that you can dig in further where you see fit. So I'm looking at my copy of the report on page 5. We did it in 2 phases. And this is commonly how we work, is we'll do a discovery phase where we'll interview staff, we'll conduct surveys, we met with some of the council members, we talked to other similar organisations, just trying to understand exactly what the situation in the organisation is, and then we apply our analysis to the information we've gathered and come back to the municipality with what we refer to as a findings report, which is to say, this is what we think from what we've seen. Does this reflect your beliefs of what's happening in the municipality? And I think overall, it's a largely good news story from these reviews. Obviously, when you hire a consultant, we can't walk away saying everything's great. We've always got to make some recommendations, but largely the organizational structure, given the size, seemed fit for purpose from our perspective. There were some areas as we dug into it that we felt that maybe it wasn't as organizationally efficient. And when we talk about organizational efficiency, we're talking about the ratio of staff to supervisory positions largely, and making sure we've got enough staff reporting into individuals to make sure they are supervising and not spending too much of their time actually delivering the services. Through conversation predominantly, although we did look for some evidence, it did appear that the workload is closely matched to staff capacity. And I say appeared, there wasn't universal data on what workload was getting done, what workload had changed over time. Certain areas, I mean, often we look to buildings because of their legislative nature, keep good records, and we could see the evidence of how rapidly the workload had grown in buildings, for example. We did look at overtime and vacation data, which is another indicator. Is there lots of overtime being booked? Is no vacation being taken? So it seemed on those indicators that the municipality was certainly near capacity. There was evidence of overtime, and certainly there was a substantial evidence of vacation being held onto and not taken. The other observation we made structurally, and it was an organizational review, is we did feel that the span of responsibilities of the CAO was wide and too wide. And we look at that in terms of direct reports, but also in the scope of work. And as we talked to the other peers, they similarly commented that they had found difficulties and were actively seeking in reducing that span of responsibility for the CAO. The dual role concept was felt that it often detracted from the CAO responsibilities in favor of whatever the second role was. And so many of the peers were saying, we're looking at an alternate structure around that, accepting that this is about making sure there's adequate workload placed on the CAO. What was quite positive, both informally and formally, was the level of collaboration that's occurred historically in the region. You know, the formal relationships between some of the municipalities and the more informal relationships that exist between some of the staff at the municipalities, so that cooperation occurs even if it's not formalized. I did enjoy the discussions with some of the staff that are dealing with, you know, the roads infrastructure, and they talked about how they would have informal conversations to coordinate purchases so they weren't duplicating equipment, and there was a philosophy of collaborating and lending, which was all great to hear. At the same time, what we were hearing, though, was that some of the more formal relationships were receding because workload had increased and it wasn't sustainable, or priorities had changed. And so some of the more formal collaborations appeared to be receding, which we were hoping that, you know, the municipality would seek greater opportunities or ways of bridging some of those relationships that are receding. So certainly there are other opportunities for, we've called it alternative delivery. You could call it collaborative delivery if you like, but working out how the municipality in the area can work together in as many situations as possible. Moving into page 5, where we've really just summarized, you know, some of the recommendations that we came up with. As you dig into the report, we have brought forward a direction potentially of reducing that span of responsibility for the CAO. So consolidating some of the reports under other supervisory positions, and seeking potentially a deputy position for treasurer who would take on some of the burden of the treasury role, so releasing some of the capacity back to the CAO. One of the problems that's evident in all smaller municipalities is that key man problem. You know, we have one person who takes that responsibility. When they're not there, the workload potentially doesn't get done, and many of those positions are legislated and have to be in place. One of the levers that's available that we've encouraged, and it is around cross-training, is formally making sure that people understand how to cover for other positions that may have similarities but won't be the same. I will say in the conversations we had that many of the staff are already doing this, even if they're doing it informally, and we're certainly quite open to the concept of cross-training and the idea that that was the only way that we're going to build flexibility into the organization to help with those situations of planned and unplanned absences. We just sort of left off on this point from the alternate service delivery. I think there are more opportunities to work with neighbours, but it takes some effort to make those happen. It takes some effort to set them up, and it takes some effort to sustain them. I think with the increased workload, potentially that formal effort on those relationships needs to be reinvigorated. Go back and have conversations with the neighbours to say, can we work collaboratively on other aspects? Can we resolve some of the workload challenge that might exist within some of the existing shared delivery models that you have in place? One example of the shared delivery of building services is really stressed around building inspections, about the timeline that they have to be done in, and the sheer geography of getting those done. Quite potentially, that's an area where a shared building inspector might alleviate some of the pressure that's there. We do know in the conversation we had with peers that some of them are looking for their own building staff to try and alleviate that. So we're just suggesting that maybe those conversations need to be reinvigorated and explore whether there are additional opportunities to share staff and share delivery of some of the services. There's always opportunities for technology, without a doubt. I think in the conversations that we had, there was some use of technology, but it wasn't at the forefront of people's thinking. Some people did comment in the surveys around more technology being advantageous. Even though this is an organizational review, we ultimately know that the more processes that can be taken out and automated that don't require that human judgment, if nothing more, we can increase the quality of service because we can put our staffing into those judgment-based decisions that need to be made. So there were certainly opportunities that we came across as we went around the municipality where technology could be applied, automating routine processes and freeing up some staff capacity. This is a difficult one. It's one where it's a recommendation we're increasingly making to municipalities, and that's about establishing workload measures. There's various ways that can be done. There's various flavors. I'm not advocating for just simply measuring workload. We did 10 of X and 20 of Y, but really measuring more performance related. We expect that we can get through this volume of work in this sort of time frame. We expect this service outcome. We expect this sort of service response time. So establishing measures that then can allow you to better plan staffing and workload. You can empirically start to say, yes, we are getting an increase in workload and we don't have any of the valves to release the pressure. We do need to think about our staffing and our structure again. So that one is a key enabler to have the discussion about, do we have the right amount of staff deployed in the right places? One thing that I'm sure you're all very aware of is the increasing responsibilities on municipalities for asset management, legislation of the province that they seem to continually roll to a later date, but that responsibility is coming. Having an established asset management plan, your service standards, service levels, and committing to those, monitoring those. It's not just about financially reporting on assets anymore. It is about operationally reporting on assets. Right now, that's a responsibility that doesn't have a home in the municipality. It's being covered by a few people, but sitting down and formally thinking about who has responsibility for the financial accounting of assets, for understanding the assets we're acquiring, to set the service standards, maintain them, set the service schedules, and report on the asset conditions. It's a process that spans many of the departments of the municipality as a first line, setting responsibilities for that and clearly articulating who's going to be doing that going forward. This is one area where we're seeing in many other municipalities that technology is a big challenge for them, a big hurdle around asset management, because it spans both the financial and operational realms. And that data is often fragmented and difficult to integrate together. So certainly our advice going forward linked to is potentially the asset management is one of those items that comes higher up on that technology agenda with its emerging urgence to get on top of from the provincial deadlines. So speaking to recommendations, when you get into the report itself, we broke them down into more specifics. The one comment I'd make around this is it's not meant to be get this all done next year. Certainly the organizational changes, we felt that the natural development of the organization, the natural changes in the organization will present opportunities to make some of those changes, to shift the organization over time. It's not something that potentially you should go and plan to restructure tomorrow. But as natural changes happen, you have a picture of the destination you may want to go to, and you're ready then to make decisions at those points in time without needing to force it through restructuring at this stage. So what we've presented here is multi-year activities that the municipality can take on as part of an evolution of its organization. We're certainly not suggesting that this should be the revolution and tomorrow we should blow everything up and restructure it. So at that point, I'm going to pause as a rather rapid run through of what we found, what we thought, and what we've recommended, and open the floor to council for your questions.
Any questions or comments from council?
I just have a couple questions.
Yep. Go ahead, Ken.
Thanks, Ian. And I guess just so that I get in my head exactly where we're at here, when we did this report, it was at the time that our existing CAO clerk retired, and we kind of have allocated some jobs around, and I agree 100% with your findings that we need to we change our org structure. That's kind of a makeshift one to get us by until your report came. And I think some of those things can happen very easy. But I guess just to be clear with everyone in the room, what you really say is we have sufficient staff for now. We need to change some responsibilities a bit, but when you compare us to other municipalities of our size, we're about right where we should be, not staff per population.
But as best we can tell with the data, we like to come at it in multiple angles. So comparing you to peers, it looked as though you're making the same staffing choices that peers are, which implies service levels. So we've got given our population, you've got about the same relative amount of staff as the peers we looked at. There was one exception, which I think was Tay Valley, and they certainly had delivered fewer services than you did and had much lower staffing. So we did leave them out of that direct analysis. On the workload of that second view onto staffing, it looked at capacity. The asset management is maybe one example where that may need some consideration of headcount as you move into developing that. It's not a fully formed workload at the moment. But largely when we looked at it, it looked about right. The one area I would highlight and say that does look over capacity, and there's some data to evidence that, is in buildings. I certainly think that's one area that you will have to look at. And I know the relationship that you have at the moment, the other municipality is looking at maybe pulling back from that relationship and staffing their own people around buildings. But that's one area there was certainly some evidence that the workload exceeded capacity. And with the legislative nature of it, it was being reflected that some of the more discretionary items, some of the things that don't need to be done immediately, are not getting done at the moment. So that was one area from the data that we could point to say, yeah, that looks over capacity. But broadly speaking, yes, it looked about right. And broadly speaking, it didn't appear there were other areas that we could point to that were specifically well over capacity. I think one of the other things we did do is look at the office staff ratios. And again, that looks about right compared to the peers. The distribution of staff changed slightly. Your choice of how many people you had in finance versus another area of the office staff, that did vary slightly. People weren't, but in aggregate, again, it looked comparable to peers. So net, yes, it looks about the right size. Certainly, it's not over capacity, but it certainly points to building as one area that's going to need to be looked at in the coming year, and particularly if we expect to see construction growth continue, which I suspect you do.
And I guess we make that comment that's being addressed, I think already. We're going to lose one of the municipalities who shared our building inspection services. And I have to point out that was probably, I mean, right now, I don't think there's nearly as much activity as when you talk to us. I think things are slowing down a bit, and another little increase in the interest rates today probably isn't going to help things either for a day or two. But that's always a difficult one when you get big fluctuations of demand all of a sudden, and to be prepared for it without overspending is one of the difficult decisions we'll have to make, I guess.
It is, and I mean, pointing to buildings again, it's one that has to pay for itself in aggregate. And with the rapid change in volumes, we are really seeing other municipalities really thinking hard about how they manage that revenue over years, over multiple years, to ensure that the building services is paying for itself every year. So the idea of running surpluses and having reserve funds so that you can prepare for potentially slower years.
Any other questions? Councillor Dryfout.
Thank you, Ian, for the report. Maybe you could elaborate on the extended use of technology just a little bit. Are we? I don't know if you were privy to what we're using. Are we adequate with our technology and just not using it to its full extent, or is it something that we should consider for the future?
Yeah, I'm going to try and be as politically correct as I can with answering this. It's a bit of everything, which is true of any municipality. I think, the level of investment everyone would like to put into technology is never there in time. There's a natural reluctance to be at the leading edge. So there's definitely forward motion on existing systems, upgrades, better functionality. There's additional functionality. I've mentioned the asset management software that would need to be put in place. Also, there was some evidence that, some of the staff are not exactly technophiles, and their desire to use the technology to the full extent. Nothing I'm saying here is any different than any other municipality. At the end of the day, it's a group of people with different interests and different capabilities. So I think there's a number of levers. One is specifically looking at where you can put in more modern and more advanced systems. Asset management, I point to as a new requirement. Certainly, there was discussion around finance software and the opportunities there. So improving some of the software that you have, I think it's always desirable to have ways of encouraging staff to become more adept at using the systems that are in place. And that's not often something that's thought of, is how do we continually help staff move forward with that? And in smaller municipalities like yourself, I suspect that one of the best ways of doing that is more informally, with having staff who are more adept at the systems, putting in some time to work with some of the other staff that may already happen in some places. So I think it's both aspects of what you're referring to. It's use of existing systems, it's personalities and culture, but it's also looking at where we need to advance. And I point to asset management, I point to the finance system as a couple of areas that are probably something that can be looked at sooner rather than later.
Any other questions from council? I have one, Ian. We all recognize the CAO treasurer role is a big one. There's a lot going on, but I think you've identified that there's too many reporting in our current structure to that CAO person. And I guess my question is, municipalities of this size, how common is it to have that combined role?
I'm really pleased you've asked that, even though it's a difficult question to answer, because we went out to half a dozen peers that we would think of as similar, both in size and physical geography. And that was one of the lines of inquiry. And universally, they said, it's got to be broken out somehow. Many of them sort of said, we'd prefer, like, it can't be a dedicated CAO, that's not where we're going. But maybe a deputy role is where we can get to, so that we've got a backup for another role. So they all universally said, yes, that's the direction we're going. But if you look at the data, they all have a dual role of some nature, and it's always based on the individual. None of them necessarily recruited for that role. It's just the individual came up through the ranks, as it were, maybe not within their organization, but from another organization. So they might be a treasurer, they might be a clerk. It was really an opportunity to bring in someone who had a second skill. Nobody commented that, this was our design. This was how we designed the municipality to work this way. It was much more, this was the background I had as the applicant to CAO. So I think it is common. It's becoming less common. And I suspect that's not necessarily around some change in thinking around it as much as simple growth. The story across Ontario for the past 5 to 10 years has been population growth. The story going forward is going to be population growth, I'm sure. And so municipalities like yourself are feeling that population growth now. And those roles are starting to, I think that's the natural pressure that's moving, and not some great thinking on the best way to run a municipality. So I think where we landed on it was that, leaving the treasurer responsibility where it is, but bringing a deputy treasurer to subsume a lot of the workload as it was. I think one of the comments that was made in some of the council interviews was the value that the individuals got from the person they interacted with being the CAO, having such an intimate understanding of the finances of the municipality. And I don't think that sort of benefit should be taken away. So we've gone down the line of that concept of a deputy treasurer coming in to take some of the day-to-day workload out, some of the management responsibility out of the CAO's role, but leaving the CAO with that treasurer responsibility ultimately, so the individual remains focused on the information that council wants.
Okay, thank you. Anything further from council? I guess my final comment, your report didn't really suggest that we're way off track here in Dutton Dunwich. We just need some fine tuning. Is that a fair comment?
There's always room for that. I think our report was looking a bit further ahead and saying the path you're on, keep going, but has some factors to help steer you down that path. So I didn't feel in any way there were alarm bells as we did the review. Certainly other municipalities we've considered greater alarm bells. It seems broadly in the right direction. There's always choices you can make. But I think most of our recommendations are to keep you moving forward as the municipality develops and grows in the coming years. So.
Okay, thank you. Staff, do you have any questions of Ian? I think we have Tracy online and Tara. Comments?
No, I'm good. I think I chatted Ian's ear off enough while we were doing this. So. Tara, do you have anything?
Okay. Ian, thank you for the report, and thank you for taking time to present it to us tonight. We will take a hard look at it. We have some decisions to make. around council concerning staff, and it's a priority. So thank you for what you've done.
Thank you, Council.
Do we need a resolution to receive that report at all, Tara? Okay, thank you. Okay, we're on to number 6, the Water Department, the Drinking Water System Annual Report. Everyone had a chance to review that. Another good report as usual. Any questions or comments from council? Seeing none, Tara, resolution please.
Moved by Loveland, seconded by Drouillard, that the council of the municipality of Dutton Dunwich receives the report of the Water Operations Manager titled Drinking Water System Annual Report 2022, dated January 25th, 2023 for information. All in favor? And that's carried.
The Building Department Monthly Building Activity Report, another fairly strong report. Questions from council? Resolution, Clerk Tara.
Moved by Drouillard, seconded by Pemberton, that the council of the municipality of Dutton Dunwich receives the report of the chief building official titled Building Activity Report, December 2022, dated January 25th, 2023 for information. All in favor? And that's carried.
And to the Drainage Department, I don't think we need Brent on. Is he online? Okay. So the approval of the September 14th, 2022 Court of Revision minutes for the McPhail Drain. Clerk Tara.
So I have a couple here. Moved by Drouillard, seconded by Loveland, that the regular meeting end to sit as a court of revision at 5:26 PM. All in favor? And that's carried. Moved by Loveland, seconded by Pemberton, that the meeting of the Court of Revision opens at 5:26 PM. All in favor? And that's carried. Moved by Pemberton, seconded by Dreyfus, that the minutes of the Court of Revision for the September 14th, 2022 meeting for the McPhail Drain be approved. All in favor? And that's carried. Moved by Dreyfus, seconded by Drouillard, that the meeting of the Court of Revision closes at 5:27 PM. All in favor? And that's carried. And last one, moved by Drouillard, seconded by Loveland, that the regular meeting of the council reconvenes at 5:27 PM. All in favor? And that's carried.
Okay, thank you. So under B, we're going to appoint the engineer for the Keeler Drain. Resolution, please, Clerk Tara.
Moved by Dreyfus, seconded by Loveland, that the council of the municipality of Dutton Dunwich appoints Spreed Associates to prepare the necessary report for the Section 78 petition for the Keeler Drain filed by John Oosterveld, and that notice of council's decision to appoint the engineer be sent to the requester, Lower Thames Valley Conservation Authority, OMAFRA, and Spreed Associates Limited. All in favor? And that's carried.
And we have a request for drain major improvement on the Leach McCann Drain. There's a number of attachments there. Any questions or concerns from council? Brent's pretty thorough in his reports. Go ahead, Clerk Tara.
Moved by Loveland, seconded by Pemberton, that the council of the municipality of Dutton Dunwich receives and decides to proceed with the Leach McCann Drain Improvement Request under Section 78 of the Drainage Act received from Randy McLeod, and instructs the clerk to notify Lower Thames Valley Conservation Authority as required under Section 78(2) of the Drainage Act for the drainage improvements, and that the requesting landowner be notified of council's decision to proceed, and that council appoints Breed Associates Limited to prepare the necessary reports for the Section 78 request for the Leach McCann drain, and that notices of council's decision to appoint the engineer be sent to the requester, Lower Thames Valley Conservation Authority, OMAFRA, and Breed Associates Limited. All in favor? And that's carried.
Thank you. And now we're going to go to the DK Andrews Drain 2022, and this involves West Elgin. Do you want to go ahead with that resolution, Clerk Tara?
I will require two appointed names, so if we have those names, I can.
Everyone had a chance to read the reports here. We need 2 members of council to sit on that court of revision, and I would suggest, if depends when the meetings are, and I know West Elgin's are during the day. I am available, and it's more difficult for some members of council, so I would sit as one, and possibly Deputy Mayor Loveland,
I have no problem sitting.
if council agrees. Pardon? You would have time? Is that what you're saying? Okay.
Excuse me.
Yeah, go ahead, Tracy.
Brent just sent me the email or the meeting invite. It's tomorrow morning for that, I believe. I can forward it to all council and then whoever can attend.
Did you just say this court of revision is tomorrow?
Brent sent me a meeting that he doesn't know if council got invited to this, so, and he wanted me to get it to you for the quarter revisions. So I'm gonna send it to all council, so if anybody can go to it, it's tomorrow. Tomorrow at 9:30 a.m.
I haven't got access right now, so did you find
I
that?
think that's the meeting to consider the report, not the quarter
Okay,
revision.
Maybe Brent was confused because he said they were gonna pick the people tomorrow. So I'll forward the meeting on and then you guys can, sorry to interrupt, but I just wanted to let you know that Ken had, or Brent had.
We have a meeting at 10:30, but this shouldn't be that long, so I could attend 9:30 tomorrow if you want.
okay. Councillor Pemberton? Okay. But is there a request, or does our council need to be there at that meeting?
I think Brent just wanted you to have it in case you wanted to join for information, so.
Yeah, I think it might be a Zoom meeting. So
Is it?
I could catch it.
Okay, let's clarify that so we know what's going on here.
Point a couple of us and get it done.
Yeah, okay. So other than tomorrow, it would work for, okay, if council agrees, we'll appoint Deputy Mayor Loveland and Councillor Pemberton to the court of revision on the DK Andrews drain. Okay,
So moved by Pemberton, seconded by Drouillard, that the council of the municipality of Dutton Dunwich receives the report of the drainage superintendent titled DK Andrews Drain 2022, West Elgin, dated January 25th, 2023 for information, and that council appoints Councillor Pemberton and Deputy Mayor Loveland as representative and alternate to the court of revision for the DK Andrews Drain at a time and date to be determined by the council of the municipality of West Elgin. All in favor? And that's carried.
okay, thank you. I think we're done with drainage. Number 9 is the planning department. And Dutton Dunwich Cultural Heritage Committee member on appointment. Councillor Dryfout, if you want to comment on that.
Yes, I can. There was an appointment made last year. Christopher Frost was appointed to the Cultural Heritage Committee, and for reasons chose not to participate in the meetings throughout the course of the year. So it was decided at our last meeting that his appointment be revoked and brought before council formally to accept the unappointment. So don't really know the reasons why, and I don't want to comment any further. I think everything was spelled out in the notes that were presented to council. So that's about all I have to say at this point in time. So.
Okay, thank you. I guess go ahead with the resolution, Clerk Tara.
Moved by Drulard, seconded by Dreyfus, that the Council of the Municipality of Dutton Dunwich receives the report of the planner titled Dutton Dunwich Cultural Heritage Committee, member unappointment Christopher Prost, dated January 25th, 2023 for information, and that council unappoints Christopher Prost as a member of the Cultural Heritage Committee. All in favor? And that's carried.
Okay, number 10 is our delegation. We're running ahead of schedule. Clerk Tara, do you know whether they were going to be in person or virtual?
They indicated that they preferred to be in person, but with the weather, I'm not 100% sure whether they'll be.
Okay, you will know if they come on virtually though.
Yes.
Okay, we'll just move on and deal with a couple items and give them their proper time. If that's okay with council, we're going to adjust the schedule. Yeah, okay, good point. We'll take a couple of minutes and make sure.
Mike, can we go back after we get through maybe with that 6 o'clock delegation, go back and talk about with that report and where we want to go from here?
Sure. Yeah. Yeah, we may spend a little time on that one. So.
Yeah.
Oh, they're here. Right up front. There's nothing preventing us from dealing with a delegation a little ahead of schedule, Tara? No, okay. And your entire delegation is here? Just the two of you? Okay. Well, we'll give you a couple minutes until you're ready to proceed, or you're good to go? Okay. Yeah, and pull it up a little closer, please.
I really want people to hear me.
At least they can't see it.
They can't see it like they do in other Zooms, yeah. Yeah,
Okay.
is that okay now?
We have a delegation, and it's Dutton Dunwich Minor Ball Association. They want to discuss ball diamond upgrades and improvements. I know Linda.
Yes.
I don't know the other gentleman.
I'm Jeff Woods.
Oh, Jeff. Yeah, I'm
He's
sure we've
our
met.
player, coaches, umpire, development coordinator, yeah.
Okay,
A representative for ORSA and OASA.
very good.
Busy,
Wear many hats.
he wears many hats, and we're glad he does.
When you volunteer, that's what it takes.
It's usually the case.
Yeah. Anyway, the floor is yours if you're ready to proceed.
Okay. I will let Jeff speak about the upgrades because he did some investigating and some, what we're planning to do. So I'll let him do the speaking in regards to that. Okay.
Thanks for allowing us to speak tonight. With today's weather, it's probably nice to talk about some summer sports and some ball activities, get our minds off the snow. The reason Linda and I wanted to come is, so our minor ball executive, we had a meeting in December. And at that meeting, our executive passed a motion to donate $20,000 towards ball diamond upgrades and improvements. But we wanted to come tonight and basically explain what we're looking for and what we're after. So Lyndon and myself, we met with Charlotte, Danny, and Gerald on December 19th, just to discuss some of the upgrades we're looking for. I had also was able to get a quote from Simpson Fencing on some of the improvements that we wanted done. So at that time, we presented a quote to them. I don't know if it got passed on or not, but anyways, that's kind of what Linda and I have been up to. So our first priority is what we're looking for upgrades is the benches and the dugouts. We'd like to make them wider and longer with a roof. And we're looking at that for accessibility and for safety. And that would be on both ball diamonds. So that's the first thing we're looking for. Our second priority would be upgrading the backstops on both diamonds. And again, for safety reasons, there's some holes, they've been mended. But it's time, you know, maybe not this year, but something to look for in the future that needs to be upgraded. Our third priority would be possibly a third diamond. We discussed with Danny and Charlotte and Gerald about possibly the soccer field, where the soccer field is located. And the reason that we're looking at that is our ball numbers, our registration numbers are very high, especially in our Timbits, which is our grassroots. So we're looking towards the future. We're not looking at, you know, next year, the year after. We're looking down the road of what we're going to need, what the municipality is going to need, what our association is going to need. So you probably have more as far as numbers go from our association.
You know, our numbers, last year we had, in our Timbit program, we had 65 players, which was a lot. We ended up with 6 little teams. And that's why, and so every Tuesday and Thursday we play and we use Diamond 1, Diamond 2, and then the third one was on the soccer field we had bases and things that you put out, and they'd rotate through. And so, I mean, they were there. And parents step up. That is one age group that we have volunteers. They help with the Timbit program. I mean, we handed out freezies at the end of then we'd have a parent come and volunteer to do that. All kinds of volunteers. And we get support from Softball Canada with and Tim Hortons for the jerseys, like that comes free. We put it in and they send them to us, and they have a set program that we follow. So it's a good program. It's an 8-week program. The kids love it. The parents love it. We have a fun day at the end and everybody enjoys that. And then the end of the summer. But then we had 50, I think it was between 50 and 55 players in our travel teams. And that was our U11s, U13s, and U17s, I guess, and U21s. Yeah. Which was pretty good. We're the only team around that offers Timbits. We're the only area that offers a Timbit program within our 4-county area, as far as I know. Like, and that includes Glencoe, Alvingston. So we have our own kids, but we do have some come from West Lorne or Rodney or whatever. And so it's well supported. So, as is our fastball. So
we've been hosting at the 4-county leagues. We've been hosting the tournaments on an annual basis, other than the COVID years, naturally, when things were shut down. But generally, we're the ones that step up. None of the other organizations seem to want to hear that, the time and the diamond. So we've been stepping up quite a number of years to do it. Again, we just feel that our facilities just need a little bit more upgrading. We've also put in to host some of the provincial tournaments, but again, we're just not quite there as far as diamond capabilities, fencing, lighting, that sort of thing. So basically what we're looking for is the municipality maybe spearhead a project to do the upgrades, and we would be more than happy to assist. Like I said, we're willing to donate $20,000 right off the hop. That'll get us started. The quote that I received from Simpson Fence is about $32,000 just for the dugout upgrades. So it is a substantial project. And, you know, part of what we would be looking at is some of the service groups to maybe chip in, you know, could do some fundraising, that type of thing. But because we don't own the diamonds for insurance and everything else, like I said, we'd be looking at for the municipality to spearhead it with our assistance. So.
And we do bingos, and with COVID and everything, and because we haven't been able, had full seasons. We are now stopped from having bingos because we have this $20,000 we have to get rid of. We have to spend it before we can start doing bingos again, which is really sad because it's a good fundraiser. And it works really well for us to help fund the baseball. Because we take uniforms and things out of there, and there's other things. We split it between our general account and our bingo account, two separate entities. So, yeah. So once we get to a point, we'll be back doing bingos again and more money there to help put towards upgrades and things like that. Yeah. Yep. No. So it would be okay just to go to the optimists, and just. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, when you did that, yeah. And this is it, and we can't, it's easier for us to go through a service club to do, because we're having, our bingo chair is having problems talking to the coordinator from bingo, because we've had this request to them, but what we can do or what we are able or not able to do since past June, and he has not got yet back to her. So Charlotte gave us some pointers because she has had some ideas, and then wondered about going to the service club, like to the Optimist. Yeah. 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 I'll give them a call. Okay. I can do that. That's good advice. Thank you.
Any other comments, questions from council? Yeah, Councillor Greifeld.
Just to clarify, so you're asking for benches, like a dugout benches with a
Correct.
roof,
Yes.
another diamond with a backstop, and then repairs to the backstop on the existing diamonds.
So our first priority would be the benches.
Benches, first
five
priority.
Dugouts on both.
So you're saying that's going to cost about 32,000?
32,000.
Mm.
So, again, it's something that can be done in phases, over the next how many years type of thing. But like I said, we want to look towards the future, not just to what we need for next year or the year after. We want to look down the road as well. So
Starting with the main diamond,
Yes.
but it's the one that we need to look at, because not only do we have our minor ball, but there's a lot of some of the adult teams in that. So you have to look at it for them as well, just not for our minor ball.
So our restrictions for provincial tournaments right now is because of our facilities?
correct.
Yes, yes.
Because
So we don't meet the standards?
we don't
of
meet the
what-
standards with fencing and lighting on the second diamonds.
Okay,
On the second diamond,
Yeah.
yeah.
on the second
On the
diamond.
second diamond, yes. Yeah, the fencing, the dugouts are okay on the main diamond, but they really should be
Upgraded,
upgraded and put in under the safety and accessibility.
yes.
So right now we hold tournaments in August. So what we do is we put tarps over the benches and over the dugouts because of course in August, the heat and
Yeah.
the sun and everything else. So
So, yeah, I just want to be clear. So your ask is that the municipality is your coordinator for kind of telling you, you could ask for money and kind of spearheading what you're trying to do.
Yeah,
correct.
yes, because we are limited in the number of volunteers we have. So if we can, we could go to another group and say, we're planning this, we can give you, this is what we have to put towards it right now. Can you spearhead it? Because somebody out there will know grants and everything, all the other things that I have no idea.
So we're willing to donate money and some manpower and. some-
Manpower and time and,
time
yeah, oh, yeah.
all that, yeah.
I'm sorry, I should have.
Anything else? Yes, Councillor Loveland.
Fantastic that you have that many Timbits coming up in the program.
Oh, yeah.
That's really
Yeah.
strong future growth, right? So,
And especially since we were fortunate enough, we were able to do it with all the restrictions and with the council's support through COVID. Once it came to a part where you could be out in the parks, and we went through all the COVID protocols with the public health and everything like that, we were able to offer it. So I think that being able to offer it continually 2020 a little bit, not so much, and then 2021, and then again in 2022. Every year we've seen, another 20 players come out, so it's great. We'll keep.
Councillor Loveland. Just want to comment that we're fortunate to have kept baseball going all these years here because a lot of around us haven't had that same success rate. So it's got to be commended for that. So I guess just so we're clear, number one diamond would be your first priority this year is to get those done. The second diamond, if I haven't been over and looked at it for a while, it needs, it doesn't really have any dugouts really at all. It needs them. And you're looking for lights there, which will be the expensive portion of that probably. But
It'd be-
if we could. if we
Looking
could
down
get-
the road, yes.
Yeah, if we could get dugouts there, that would help.
yeah.
Lights we could plan in the future. And there is a third diamond there now, isn't there though? Or
It's way at the back,
Yeah.
way at the back. And the problem we find with that is this, when you have little ones, washroom.
Yeah.
Or parent, or coaches taking all the equipment they need out there.
Yeah.
To go out and do the practice. And that's why we had bases that we could put down on the soccer field behind the community center. And it keeps them all kind of in a cohesive area. And if you, Timbits, we have parents that have 3-year-olds and 7-year-olds and 9-year-olds, so they can watch them all at the same time. So, yeah.
So having said that, would you eliminate the one in the back corner? Is that what you're thinking?
That's what we're thinking long-term.
Mhm.
So you've already talked to staff, Charlotte and Dan, and they could help you in the decision or the location of the third diamond. Okay.
Correct.
Yeah,
I guess one of the questions I've got, it's municipal property,
yes.
and we do have a building inspector here. Is there anything that we need as far as standards? We could work closely with staff on those types of things.
So on the quote I received from Simpsons, so all the dimensions, and I can leave a copy here for council to look at as well. So it outlays as far as what they're looking at, as far as dimensions go, as far as what they would be constructing. I mean, again, we get several other quotes, but I wanted to at least get a ballpark price wise of what we're looking at, so. But again, because, we don't own the property, the municipality owns the property with insurance, with a couple other things. That's why we wanted to bring it to your attention.
Go ahead, Councillor Goulart.
Just one more question. Are we meeting the accessibility standards currently?
With the paving that is there, that is
Yes.
fine. It's the spacing in within the dugout itself and the length of the dugout.
Okay.
Looking at,
We have coaches that are in wheelchairs
Yeah.
and they're unable
Yeah.
to get into the
To-
bench area
yeah,
because they're
access the
not
bench
wide
area.
enough. So
Yeah.
that's why we thought with the accessibility issues, there's possible grants that could be available. So.
I made some notes for you and I'll pass them along to Henry so that when you're meeting, that maybe you'll be able to access some of those ideas. I'll pass them along to Henry and he can share them with Charlotte.
Okay. This is a really good news story,
It really is.
um,
Thank you.
especially the fact that this organization, you do incredible work, but you're coming without a financial request.
Right.
yes,
It's
yes.
the other way around, and we thank you for that. I suggest, with councilor's agreement, you work with staff,
Okay,
so it's done properly. And we recognize it's municipal property, so we have some things we have to worry about. And I got thinking about Councillor Goulart's question about accessibility. Possibly there's funding for that kind of stuff. So we could-
I've been told, someone was saying that they were pretty sure there was, but I have, if Councillor Drouillard knows how to go about finding somebody to do that,
Yeah.
that's wonderful.
It's not in our wheelhouse, that type of
We can
stuff.
organize the baseball,
I'm not sure I can coordinate somebody, but I can certainly pass the
Pass it to the
information
right-
along to Henry and he can talk with Charlotte about how to access it.
Yeah.
I do know how to access grants, but
Yeah.
Our
So-
staff are very good at that sort of thing, so we'll look into
yeah.
that.
So
So,
if you have any concerns at all, I'm the rec.
Okay, so.
Working with rec
Yeah.
as on behalf of council. So
Okay.
I can help in those areas as well. So, okay.
And we do want to thank the council, current council and past councils for all the help they have had and given us over the year. Your grounds crew, Dan and Gerald, cannot be matched anywhere in our leagues. It's, they're just, anyways, they're to be commended and working with the council. And anytime I call up with a question, somebody can usually answer it or they'll get back to me. So I do appreciate the support that we have had, especially in the last couple of years as we've tried to keep going. Yeah. So it's been, yeah.
well, thank you for that, and make sure we pass that on to Dan and Gerald. We don't hear that often enough
No,
when we
no,
work in
I'm
public
sure.
life. Anything further?
No, I don't think, if you have any other questions for us, and if you do, I mean, we have, you know how to get a hold of me. Charlotte's got my email, so yeah, it's there. If you have any questions, give me a call or anything. And then we
Did you want to hang on to this, or
I have another copy.
have another,
do you?
yeah, we each
We'll
have.
get
yeah,
it to
we have
staff
yeah,
then.
Yeah,
For your records.
Okay, I think the consensus of council is to continue to work with staff,
okay,
and we'll make this happen.
okay.
Okay.
And then we'll be in touch with other
Okay.
people to help with the support. Okay,
Yep, you have it. Thank you.
Thank you very
Okay.
much.
thank you for taking the time. Okay.
We'll just take a short break here. We're a little ahead of schedule anyway. Sorry, Tara. He's online? Okay.
sorry about that.
Okay. We are number 11. We have another delegation, and it's Prim Peony. And do you know if they're online now, Tara? I'm going to let Councillor Dreyfus introduce our next delegation.
Hi, Thomas. Pleasure to have you here this evening. This afternoon, I had the opportunity to visit Prim Peony and see his operation there, and I wanted to get a better understanding of what his business is. And we had quite a discussion about what he's planning to do and the benefit that it is to Dutton Dunwich. I was pretty excited about with what I saw there, and he's done a great job, and it's a real asset to our community. He did express some concerns, and we conversed about some of it, but I was there more on behalf of the Economic Development Committee as chair of that. So, Thomas, welcome. Thomas Waite, welcome to the meeting, and I'll give you the floor now, and you can inform council to some of the discussion that we had this afternoon.
All right. Well, first off, thank you very much for giving me this time this evening. And I was going to be present, but my 5-month-old son started not feeling the greatest this afternoon, so I thought it would be better to stay home. Yeah, thank you for giving me the floor. My name is Thomas Waits. Myself and my wife, Samantha Waits, own Primpini Event Co., the in-home chef, which is a personal in-home catering company, and then also Port Talbot Estates. What we do at our venue at Primpini, we have renovated. A lot of you, some of you had known the old owners before us and knew what the barn looked like even before those last owners. We have been here almost 4 years in June. We have been working on the property since we moved here, converting the 180 to 200-year-old barn into a wedding venue, also building a full commercial kitchen that is attached to the barn. We have a 4,000 square foot patio at the back with wood-burning pizza oven right from Italy. We have a full functioning bar attached in another building. We are fully licensed here. And starting this year, we're also going to be doing cooking classes. I've taught for years. I'm a trained professional chef. And we're also going to be opening a market and a pop-up restaurant. And the concerns we've had, I first want to say, since being here, it has been difficult. From moving from London, we were both born and raised in London. And I had my own restaurants in London. I had my own building. I had another building. And coming to a small community, we were told, it's a lot easier. It's more welcoming. And since being here, it's been very hard with no support. And I'm not talking about monetary support or anything like that, but any support in regards to what directions we should go to, who should we ask for help, where do we get staffing, grants, for example, or anything like that. Everything that we have put into this property for the last 4 years has been out of our own pockets. We have not borrowed any money or loans or anything like that. Every single penny that we have made has went back into our businesses. We are all about local. We are young entrepreneurs and we are growing. We use local farmers from around here. Like I was saying to Henry earlier, that the 3 farmers that we use, other than our 2 gardens that we try to grow a lot of our own stuff, they're probably within 25 kilometers. One is across the road, which probably a lot of you know is Monica and Leo. And then June is 9 minutes down the road, and another one in Rodney. And with us growing and trying to be local and trying to bring something new to this area, I specialize in fine dining and molecular astronomy using science, modern type food. Since being here, our first year was during COVID. My business kind of stopped for 2 years with doing in-home catering. And that gave me time to work on the property along with my father and the multitude of architects, engineers, contractors, concrete guys, everything that we used. It's just, I don't know, it's put us in a hard position at times. And it's just nobody except for Mayor Mike. He came out here when we first moved here. He was the deputy mayor at the time. He came out here and introduced himself, said, "How can I help?" And nobody else has ever been out here. Nobody. And I know that some of you are new, or you could all be new to the board or to the municipality. But us being, especially with me and my business, I'm very outgoing. I'm very, how can I help my clients? That nobody showed an interest. Nobody came forward. We came to one meeting at the very beginning when we were dealing with the board. And I think it was one of the few times, like the very first few times that we met Jackie and I believe Tracy at the time. And there was a woman, I don't know her name, but she was trying to help with business or something, gave me her card. I reached out maybe half a dozen times, never heard anything back. And so to have somebody come out here to show that interest, along with Harry coming out today, he emailed stating how can we help. And we had a great conversation of how we're growing, what direction we should go into. And it's just, we feel like maybe, I don't believe it's because we're young and all that, but I believe because we're new and we're doing certain things that we have been not mistreated by any means in regards like using that wording, but we were told when we first moved here not to go through the municipality, to do what we wanted to build, because dealing with the municipality was very difficult. And we didn't listen to that. We have dealt with the municipality from the start. We have done everything correctly. We have spent several hundred thousands of dollars in regards to engineers and architects and mechanical, electric, water management, everything like that. And so we've done it the proper way. That's what we're about. But for example, we have a shipping container on our property, and we were told this shipping container is brand new. We customized it, we painted it, we had the ground from underneath excavated, chips and dust compacted. We put, I think they're 12-inch railway ties underneath, had it craned on top. We were told that we needed to have a variance and a permit. When, if I left my house right now and drove a couple of kilometers, I would run into maybe a half a dozen shipping containers that are on properties that are in terrible condition. The shipping containers are rusty. The houses are not upkept, or anything like that. But then I know they don't have a permit or they don't have a variance or anything like that. But we had to pay $1,000 for a variance. And with us just doing things proper, we just feel that, you know, like not targeted, but just if we're doing it proper, then we should be, something should be maybe eased off a bit, because I know quite a few people that do things without any knowledge of the municipality, that don't do things with permits. And I've seen them get away with it. And I know that this area is huge, and the municipality and you as a board can't see everything. But it's just frustrating at times with nobody that shows interest in what we're doing, or the support, or gives us a proper direction of where to go to get help. And I've expressed this frustration with Mayor Hens, and and Henry as well today. And I just wanted you to be aware of all of this and how we can work together to grow not just only our businesses, but the local businesses and the municipality and this town as a whole. We're willing to work with the community to support them in any way. We have done multiple Meals on Wheels. I've donated to multiple charities. And so we're here to help in any way when it comes to that. But again, nobody has shown any interest or any support or came and met with us or just shown their face. So, and I'll leave it at that for right now. I thank you for giving me this time.
Okay, thank you, Thomas. Henry, any comments or?
Thomas, I appreciate what you're saying. And I have to agree at times, sometimes doing things the right way causes a lot of additional grief and cost. And it's still the admirable way to go, to be honest. But I will apologize on behalf of the Economic Development Committee that we didn't reach out to you sooner. It was my full intention last fall during the election, and I went to your location at that time. But I feel bad that we, as a committee, 2 years ago didn't jump on board, because it's an exciting business for our municipality, and we're pretty lucky to have it, to be honest with you. I think we are. And it's a real benefit to our community. So you can have my assurance that we'll be reaching out to you more and involving you in anything that comes our way that may benefit your business. That's my assurance as chair of the committee right now, and I know our committee will stand by that all the way. So the frustrations that you've shared, and you've been very you've held back in your viewpoints, and I appreciate that. And I'm not sure if council wants to ask any more questions of any details at all, but I'll leave it up to them. But your points are well taken, and I will be sure to raise your concerns.
Thank you very much for that. I greatly appreciate that. It means a lot to us, and we would welcome that more than anything. So thank you.
I'll just add, Thomas, this municipality and the council appreciates what you're doing out there. It's an exciting new business. I've also spoken with county and their tourism and their development. I think you've heard from them already, and if not, you will in the very near future. Delaney Leach, local girls working down there, they're excited about what you're trying to do. So going forward, and that's all we can do. We're going to try our best to promote. And this is the kind of business that Elgin County wants. It's buy local. It's use local. So it's an exciting time, and we're glad you're there. I know there's some frustrations, but we're going to work together and get you through this stuff.
All right. Thank you. Thank you very much. I appreciate that.
Okay. Thank you for your delegation, Thomas.
All right. Thank you. Have a great night.
Good luck.
Take care.
Mayor Hens.
Councillor Dryfoot.
Further to the conversation, I would recommend to council that we have a session in camera next meeting or whenever we can fit it into the agenda, just for open discussion. And it's not to throw stones or anything. It's to sort of air the laundry of what came out of that meeting. So I think it's important that we discuss it. We don't have to do anything, but I think it's important that we discuss it. So.
Any other comments from council?
No, I agree with you.
I've been involved with these folks since they started. And there are frustrations growing a new business, but I agree with Councillor Dreyfus and Deputy Mayor Loveland. Is there anything we as a municipality can do better? So if we'll just leave it at that, we should have that discussion. And as you said, we're not throwing stones. What can we as a municipality do better to assist businesses like this? So we'll leave it at that. We'll put it on the agenda for next meeting under closed. Okay? Let's deal with correspondence. The municipality of West Elgin, the notice of termination, and there may be some comments on this, but go ahead with the resolution, but I would invite discussion on that if there is any.
Moved by Dreyfus, seconded by Loveland, that correspondence item 10A from the municipality of West Elgin be received and filed. All in favor?
Any discussion?
I'd like to make
Go
a
ahead.
couple comments here. I know this has been a trying thing to get organized, but I think we need to be way more formal with this. We have an agreement in place with West Elgin, and I think we need to get that off the books somehow. I think it's really was a council decision to waive that 6 months notice, but I'm not going to get too excited about that, but we need a formal resolution here accepting their with termination of the shared agreement and waiving the notice provisions.
Yes, I echo those sentiments. I don't recall this ever coming to council for discussion. So, I mean, I just think we need a formal process for making sure that we do this the right way. So just, that's my comment.
If I could just get comments from staff on this. We kind of had an inkling this was coming, but any comments from staff on handled properly? And I'm not pointing at our staff, I'm directing my concern to West Elgin.
Mr. Mayor, this was all part of a discussion actually at the end of 2021 when we decided we needed help. And we put in the operating budget for 2022, we put in an additional person. And also the agreement was made then that if we couldn't find somebody and they needed to go their own way, that we would waive this termination agreement because neither one of us could find any help. So that's kind of where it started, like late 2021, early 2022. So it's kind of been in the works for almost a year that this was going to happen because we couldn't find anybody to help Jackie on our end and they couldn't find anybody to take her place. So.
Okay, thank you. I don't know whether there's anything in the minutes. I don't want to make an issue of this. I don't think that's the intent of council. We kind of saw it coming and it happened, and we will move on from this.
Yeah, I just think we need to formally get that agreement off the books, not just file this letter and say it's done.
Yeah.
Who knows? Who knows what where any of us would be after the next term? But I just think it's more proper to pass a resolution accepting the fact that they have opted out of the agreement and waiving their period, and then it's that legal agreement no longer exists.
Fair enough. Are we prepared to do that tonight, Tara? Can you put something together in that regard? And then we can deal with this resolution to accept, I guess, the correspondence item. There is a resolution on the floor at the present time.
Okay, so we can do that. The Council of the Municipality of Dutton Dunwich accepts the notice of termination of shared services agreement from the municipality of West Elgin, and that council agrees to waive the notice period.
That's a new resolution. What do we do with the one that was on the table?
So you guys would ask for an amendment, and then you have to agree to this amendment. And then once you agree on this amendment, this becomes the new resolution, and then you would have to vote on it again.
Okay, is council in agreement with that amendment?
Do you want me to formally ask for the amendment or just, I will,
Yeah,
yes.
okay.
Okay.
Okay, let's do it legally.
All right, so then, does council agree to the amendment that the Council of the Municipality of Dutton Dunwich accepts the notice of termination of the shared services agreement, and that council agrees to waive the notice period? All in favor? Okay, and that's carried. So then we'll go and we'll read it again. So moved by Dreyfus, seconded by Loveland, that the Council of the Municipality of Dutton Dunwich accepts the notice of termination of the shared services agreement from the municipality of West Elgin, and that council agrees to waive the notice period. All in favor? And that's carried.
Thank you, Tara. Long way around to get to the same point. Okay, this is the Elgin County recruitment of members for the Terrace Lodge redevelopment fundraising committee. I have a couple of comments on that, and Councilor Drulard, your name was put forward way back November, December. Elgin County Council committees were not struck until January 11th. Nobody was on a committee. So whether you're willing to stand or not, it's a delay that happened. But I just wanted to make that out there, that your name was put forward at the time, but it took too long to strike this committee. Councilor Drulard.
I spoke with Councillor Jaguar from the county, and she expressed her apologies and asked if I would return or would accept of course, it has to be confirmed by county council, so I would stand on this committee as well.
Thank you for that. Go ahead, Clerk Tara. We can include the appointee to that in the resolution. Thank you.
Moved by Loveland, seconded by Drulard, that the Council of the Municipality of Dutton Dunwich appoints Councillor Drulard to the Terrace Lodge Redevelopment Fundraising Committee for a period of 4 years. All in favor? And that's carried.
The Dutton Dunwich School Council and the Homeschool Association Spring Fling in-kind request. Everybody read about any questions on that thing? Okay, go ahead with the resolution, Clerk Tarrant.
Moved by Drulard, seconded by Pemberton, that the Council of the Municipality of Dutton Dunwich approves the request for an in-kind donation to the Dutton Dunwich School Council and the Homeschool Association for their annual spring fling for their rental of the community center in the amount of $810 plus HST. All in favor? And that's carried.
Thank you. I knew I forgot something. I was going to ask Linda and Jeff to hang around for this next one, but maybe it's self-explanatory. The Dunwich Dutton Softball Association, they're looking for an adjustment to the Timbits programs fee. Is there any comments or questions from council on that? I guess we'll take the resolution, Clerk Tara.
Would you guys like to prorate or reduce the fees? They gave two options in their correspondence.
Go ahead, Councillor Pemberton.
Do we provide insurance or they provide their own insurance? Like, is there any cost to the municipality by reducing the fees? Or what do we pay as a municipality? Like we're collecting the fees for use of our diamonds and stuff like that, but do we carry insurance for these players in association?
So not for the players, but definitely for the park and the use of the facilities.
Personal opinion on this, I think it's a reasonable request. It's, when have we seen the enrollment increases like they're experiencing? And anything we can do to keep that thing going, I think is a terrific thing. So anyway, any other comments? Councillor Durlard.
That program is significantly shorter than the rest of ball season. I believe it was 6 or 8 weeks compared to, I think, 15. So did they have a preferred method or just did they prefer a prorate or did they prefer a reduction? I would prefer to work with them, and so everybody wins.
So in the correspondence letter, it outlined either or. So they're looking for either it be prorated or that it be reduced to half.
Councillor Pemberton.
Can I ask what the current rate is now? It's a per player rate.
I believe it's 625 or 650. It's one of those two.
I guess we need to specify it in the resolution. Or do we have to do that, or can we leave it? Really, I don't think there's any difference in cost to the municipality one way or the other, is there?
I would have to let Tracy answer that.
Yeah. Go ahead, Tracy.
We could, Tara and I had this discussion about just adding a fee on our fees and charges bylaw for children under 9, I believe it was, Tara. At half the price of from 10 and up on our fee schedule, if that's the way we want to do it, and then it's just in the fee schedule and they don't have to come back every year with this kind of thing. Yeah. So
I would recommend just going half. That was a recommendation, right? Or the request, either prorate or go half, just go half.
So we incorporate that into our fee schedule, then, so they don't have to come back to us every time this pops up.
yeah, so we could say that children under 9 are as 325, and then 10 and up is the 650, and then when they get to 18, it goes up to 850. So we could just tie it right into the 10 and up, 10 to 17, and they do always just half of that. Because it is a shorter season, so they're not out there as long as the other kids anyways, so.
Okay, Councillor Pemberton.
Yeah, so I guess my question to that, and not that I'm disagreeing to this, I 100% agree to this. In the fee schedule, could we change it to half the fee for a 8-week season? Because then we don't run into all right, we have a 9-year-old travel team now or an 8-year-old travel team now that's playing a 16-week season and not paying the same amount. So could we look at changing the fee for players that are only playing that 8 to 10-week season versus 12 to 16-week season? Is that something that's fair?
We don't, because our fee really doesn't specify seasons. It's just they pay $6.50 for their child to play ball for the year. So I guess we could say up to 9 non-travel or non-full season or something along that line. So it doesn't get blurred, I guess, on the fees and charges bylaw.
Yeah, like I said, I guess just my concern would be is if all of a sudden we have a U8 or U9 team that becomes a competitive team.
Yeah. Yep.
They're
Yeah.
because if we're giving a discounted rate because we're not using our fields as much and we're not grading them as much, lining them as much, all the rest of that, I agree with that 100%. I think that's a great idea. I think it's great that they have these teams.
Yeah.
But if all of a sudden they're a 16-week season, that doesn't seem fair to me either.
So we'll just put it 9 and under at a half season or something along that line.
Okay.
Could we even specifically say for the Timbits program? And then, because that captures everything? I don't know, just a suggestion.
That's probably easier. Timbits, put the age and then, yeah, put the half price right on the fees and charges. Final.
I think we have a workable solution. We'll leave it to staff and to implement it. Can you put together a resolution to that effect here, Clerk Tara?
Moved by Pemberton, seconded by Dreyfus, that the Council of the Municipality of Dutton Dunwich receives and files correspondence from the Dunwich Dutton Softball Association and that council directs staff to reduce fees for the Timbits program. All in favor? And that's carried.
Thank you. We have the Municipality of West Elgin appointment to the Elgin Group Police Services Board. We all know who that is, so go ahead with the resolution.
Moved by Dreyfus, seconded by Loveland, that the Council of the Municipality of Dutton Dunwich supports the appointment of Ida McCollum as representative by the Municipality of West Elgin to the Elgin Group Police Services Board. All in favor? And that's carried.
And Clerk Tara, resolution to receive them all.
Moved by Loveland, seconded by Droulard, that relevant correspondence was reviewed. All in favor? And that's carried.
Okay, thank you. The consent agenda, is there anything the council would like to discuss on any one of them items? I don't see anything. I'll just make a comment on the Bacchus Page House Museum receiving a trillium funding. MPP Rob Flack will be there Friday morning at 10. Warden Ed Ketchabaugh will be there at the same time, weather permitting. So if anybody's hanging around the Bacchus Page House, come on in. It's a good news story. Go ahead with the resolution, Clerk Tara.
Moved by Droulard, seconded by Loveland, that the items on the consent agenda be approved. All in favor? And that's carried.
The acting clerk's report. Go ahead, Clerk Tara.
So everybody's had a chance to look at my report and this bylaw that we've drafted. We're just looking for some direction from council. These are for day-to-day and pretty routine operations. It's just so that we can get things done more efficiently, and we can also bring those items back to you at the end of the year just to let you know what has been going on. Is there any questions?
Any questions of council?
I'm supportive of most of this. I'm a little bit concerned about some of the pay equity adjustments and grid movement approvals. I've always felt that they should come to council. The rest of the information on there, I don't have a problem with.
Does all of council agree that they would like that item removed from the bylaw?
Go ahead, Councillor Droulard.
Yeah, that would be my preference as well. Pretty much straightforward, but just, it's good to know those things. It's not that we're going out to discuss in the community, but it's good to have information on that as it's happening.
You have a resolution that you would have to make an amendment to? No?
Moved by Loveland, seconded by Dreyfus, that the Council of the Municipality of Dutton Dunwich receives the report of the acting clerk titled Delegation of Authority for Administration Matters Bylaw dated January 25th, 2023 for information, and that council directs staff to bring a final version of the Delegation of Authority for Administrative Matters Bylaw to the next council meeting. All in favor? And that's carried.
Thank you. Acting CAO Treasurer's Report. Go ahead, CAO Tracy.
Yeah, just a kind of a snapshot of where we are before I finish all my year-end entries. Just because the last one you saw, I think, was in October. So we do have a lot of variances that I'm still going over with staff. Some of the areas are, the gas doubled for our works equipment and vehicles. Gravel doubled on us, the price of gravel. Just different things that are kind of, kind of hit every municipality because they didn't budget for this change in the economy. I was talking to Amy from the county Monday, and she said she took a economic outlook to her council last year for the salary increases, and that by the end of the year, she took another one that said even the economists didn't realize how bad it was going to get. So I think everybody's struggling with their year-end numbers, but this is just kind of a snapshot. You'll get the final numbers when we're done and they're all audited. So is there any questions?
Questions of council? It's been difficult to hold two budgets when things were increasing in price throughout the year. You can't plan for some of them things, so staff are doing their best to, I guess, the bottom line. Certain items are out of whack a little bit, but if we can pull it all together close to budget, I think we've accomplished something. So Clerk Tara, resolution, please.
Moved by Dreyfus, seconded by Drewlar, that the Council of the Municipality of Dutton Dunwich receives the report of the acting CAO treasurer titled Q4 Unaudited Operational Budget to Actual dated January 25th, 2023 for information. All in favor? And that's carried.
Okay, thank you. We have unfinished business and the arena board budget. Deputy Mayor Loveland, I'm sure you want to address that issue.
Yeah, I think the report's pretty self-explanatory. I received that budget with the changes during the last council meeting, so we didn't really have time to consider it then. But I guess the recommendation is that we approve the budget as prepared. And I'd be prepared to answer any questions on that.
Questions from council? You know, it is a good news story in some respects. We have surpassed West Elgin with users down there. We're a growing community and it's going to cost us more. That's the agreement that's in place. So we have to live with it. Resolution, please, Clerk Tara.
Moved by Drewlar, seconded by Loveland, that the Council of the Municipality of Dutton Dunwich receives the report from Deputy Mayor Loveland titled Arena Board Annual Report and 2023 Proposed Budget dated January 25th, 2023 for information, and that council approves the proposed 2023 operating and capital budget requiring a contribution from the municipality of Dutton Dunwich of $99,804.88. All in favor? And that's carried.
Thank you. Unfinished business, and I think we'll go back a little bit. Deputy Mayor Loveland, you had wanted to address the report on the org chart.
Yes, we've been waiting for this report to be completed. So now that we have it, I feel we really need to make some decisions here. We've got staff in acting positions with a bit of uncertainty. I think as a council, we need to get together even without staff and have a good discussion about that report and where we're going for sure and get it finalized. So I would like to do that. I don't know if the county HR person would chair that or be acting clerk for that meeting as she has done in the past. I really feel, we need to think about revised organization charts. I'd like to see job descriptions where we're at. I'd like to see the pay grid, current and present, so we can make some decisions. And I'd like to talk about a couple other things as to where we're going with reports to council and that sort of thing. So I think it's just time that we sort of clear the air and get on with life here.
Any other comments from council? I agree. I think we've been on hold waiting for this report for months now. We have it and we need to act on it. Are you proposing, Ken, at the next meeting to bring in and include this in the agenda for the next council meeting?
I think that would be the latest. I wouldn't be opposed to having even a special closed meeting and just discuss this and spend the time that we need without having some pressures on other things on the agenda.
What's council thoughts on that?
I'm in full agreement with Council, Deputy Mayor Loveland. I think a separate meeting would be fine, and we're not rushed through the process, and this could take a little bit of time.
It will take time, there's no question about it, and I just want to give council a heads up, not only a special meeting for that, I think time's going to make it necessary to have a special budget meeting as well, that we're going to have to squeeze in. I know Ken and I have talked about that, so we're going to be busy, but I think it's far better than to try and include those two big items in a council meeting. We'll be here till midnight, and nobody wants to do that. So if I could ask staff to check on the availability of Amy Thompson at county. She is the right person to facilitate our organization and the pay grids and all of that, and provide her with any information she may need, certainly our pay grids and salaries. And we'll try and accommodate everybody's schedule, but I think we need to accommodate Amy's schedule first and foremost. So if I could ask staff to look into that for us, we'll get this thing moving. So we're okay with that. Council's good? Thank you. And also under new business, there was Economic Development Committee Terms of Reference Update. Councillor Dryfoot, did you have any comments on that?
Everything is pretty much the same. The only thing we did was change the number of participants, committee members from 7 to 12, I believe it is, because we have a lot of involvement, a lot of special projects on the go, and there were key people that fit the rules. So we felt, I felt as chair was important we do that. So,
any comments from council? Resolution, please, Clerk Tara.
Moved by Loveland, seconded by Dryfoot, that the Council of the Municipality of Dutton Dunwich approves the updated terms of reference for the Economic Development Committee amended January 16th, 2023. All in favor? And that's carried.
And under new business, I had the item I spoke of at the beginning of the meeting, and it's just a procedural thing. In the past, we've had delegations at certain times, and a meeting gets delayed, and then our delegations are hanging in the wings. It would require a procedural change to deal with delegations right off the get-go at meetings, where we're almost guaranteed that we're on schedule, and everyone has a life to live, and I don't expect them to wait around forever. So that would be a procedural change in the way we conduct our meetings. Any comments from council on that? I'm seeing none. And the other thing is, meetings at this time, and I'm not being selfish here, but sometimes they drag on, and you can only sit so long and be attentive. At least I can't. And in the past, we've taken a break and had a small something to eat. It serves two purposes. It keeps us sharper, I think. You should have a break. It also throws some business to our local restaurant. Said we've done it in the past. I'm throwing out to council something in that regard. It wouldn't have to take long, but a 10 to 15-minute break and supporting our local restaurants. So I would like comments from council on that type of change in the way we do our business. Councillor Drouillard.
Just one question, like, I'm all in for food, but I'm just asking, does that put a little extra on you, Tara? Does it create, because I know you're busy preparing and I know you were the person that always made sure we had it in the past. So, I just don't want to add something more to your plate on council meeting days, but we can
Uh,
probably figure something out.
Yeah, so if we order the food ahead of time as we did in past, and then are you looking to just like have that dinner food at 6, 7 o'clock or something like that? And, or are you talking about prior to the meeting as we have in past?
Way back, we took a break and had it, but I'm okay either way. But, so it's council's decision. But I think it shows some support to our local business as well. And if it's a matter of ordering a pizza from Dave Mancarry, I mean, I'll walk down and get it. That's not a big thing. Yeah. So it's out there for council's deliberation. We could do it at 5 o'clock or 4:45 and have a quick bite and carry on through it with breaks. Or we could take a 15-minute break at 6 and have it then. I'm open either way. Okay, so you okay with that?
Yep.
All right. Procedural change, then we'll prepare that for the next meeting. Or Tara?
Yes, we can have that ready for you next meeting.
Okay, thank you. Anything else under new business? Seeing none. Any announcements? Nothing? Nobody wants to report from Toronto? I was hoping for a story, but I'm not going to get it.
How was Roma, by the way? I didn't ask anybody.
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you very well, Tracy.
I just asked how Roma went. Was it good?
I think it was good. We had MPP Rob Flax sit in with us on our side of the table when we went hat in hand for infrastructure money. He made a commitment to bird dog it for us, he said. So that was helpful. The other delegation, I guess I had my views known. So that's good. And part of that, I'd made a commitment to the people involved, and specifically to the Dufflargy Church, that I would take that to the government, because I feel strongly that they've been wronged for years in that thing. So I can look them in the eye and say, this council did what they could for them. So that was successful. Councillor Loveland and I also met with Enbridge, and that was a very good meeting. Following up on our Shackleton Line project, he encouraged us to look for other opportunities like that. Brian Lenny from Enbridge is going to forward maps, hopefully to the municipality, so we know what infrastructure is there. We can take a hard look at it and find opportunities to expand natural gas coverage to Dutton Dunwich. There's also phase 3 of natural gas expansion that the government promised. They haven't announced yet. The lineup was too long at the bullpit there that I didn't bother going up to ask that question, but Enbridge did request that somebody ask the government that. And that's a question that I will ask Rob Flack. He, weather permitting, will be here tomorrow morning. He wanted a debrief on Roma himself. So I think it's all positive. We also met with Hydro. Planned expansion there. They need more power to the west, and there's going to be a new corridor with towers. Doesn't look like it's going to hit Dutton Dunwich, but you never know. So we've been brought up to date on that, and we'll stay in touch on that as well. So if anybody has something more exciting than delegations, what else happened down there?
I'll just comment, Mayor Hens, I thought you did a great job in representing our municipality in your dialogue with the ministers. I thought it was very professional. You were organized and you had the information, so I commend you on that. And I thought it was a great job. I really enjoyed the conference in speaking with a lot of different people. And I made a point in the mornings, especially for the breakfast, I sat at tables with people I didn't know. So you get a real feel for what's happening around Ontario and the problems that they're facing. And they're not a whole lot different than ours at the end of the day. We're all facing restrained budgets. In various capacities, so in growth issues. So that was really interesting to get everybody's take on that. I did spend some time with the Economic Development Council at their booth, and I actually went there twice because I was very interested in seeing how our progress was in comparison to economic development in general. And I was pleasantly surprised where I really feel we're on track. I explained what we've accomplished in the last couple of years. They were actually impressed at the progress that we've made, which excited me because you're always questioning and challenging whether you're on the right track or not. But I think the next major step for us is community enhancement and improvements plan is something that we're working on now on our economic development committee, and it's essential in attaining the 4 levels of grants that are available for communities like ours. So we're looking at Main Street improvements to buildings. We're looking at possibility of community enhancement projects like murals, painting projects. Could be wayfinding solutions. It could be branding, signage, all that kind of thing. So that'll all help in the process. So I think I walked away from that group pretty excited that we're on the right track. One other person I talked to was from Goderich, which I connected with her, and she has been economic development chair there for probably more than 10 years, she said, though. So she encouraged me to reach out to them as well for information on how they have developed a lot of the stuff around Goderich. And we all know Goderich is a beautiful place to go visit. So those are things that I think that I think there was a lot of really good things, good speeches, good information that maybe doesn't impact us, but could someday, right? So that's my take on it. So it was totally worth going for sure. So.
Any other comments?
I mean, just make a comment that I think it was 1,500 delegates there, which was probably the largest ever. So that was good to see as well. And one of the other hot topics is short-term rentals. And we heard about that several different places. And I think everyone has the similar problems that we have with ours, only 100 times over in places. So, but yeah, I think a pretty good conference. Depending on which political leader spoke, things are really great or not good at all, or somewhere in the middle maybe. But other than that, I think it was a good conference.
Councillor Dulac?
I was really happy to speak with Mayor Joe Preston from St. Thomas. I spent quite a bit of time speaking with him about his or the City of St. Thomas plan for transit routes. And in their plan, eventually they would love for it to come to Western Elgin. So like he said, it might start out once or twice a day, but that really is part of their overall plan. But right now they were looking for a 3-year backstop from the province of just under $1 million to get an hour a day, or I mean, every half hour that it would be moving from St. Thomas to London, over 3 routes. So that was kind of exciting stuff for the community, for the county.
Okay. It was a good conference with delegation and everything. I didn't attend a lot of stuff, but that's what all the council went down and fanned out and caught a lot of stuff. So it was terrific. I would encourage council to go to AMO. It's in London. It's a good conference as well. And it's not going to cost us a lot, Tracy, because we can commute. We don't have to stay in a hotel. We don't have to do everything else that we did at Roma.
Are you trying to say I'm cheap, Mayor Pence?
No, you're good at your job. You haven't seen our expense reports yet, Treasurer Tracy.
You can answer after you see them. Thanks, Tracy.
We have a little explaining to do. Okay, good conversation. The only thing we have left is bylaws. Clerk Tara, take it away.
Moved by Dreyfus, seconded by Pemberton, that bylaw 2023-04 being a bylaw to authorize temporary borrowing to meet the current expenditures of the municipality for the year ending December 31st, 2023 be read a first, second, and third time and passed. All in favor? And that's carried.
Keep going.
I'll let the internet catch up.
Don't mean to push you.
Moved by Pemberton, seconded by Droulard, that bylaw 2023-05 being a bylaw to manage group homes for the municipality of Dutton Dunwich be read a first, second, and third time and passed. All in favor? And that's carried. Moved by Droulard, seconded by Loveland, that bylaw 2023-06 being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of the municipal council of the municipality of Dutton Dunwich be read a first, second, and third time and passed. All in favor? And that's carried.
The date of future meetings at February 8th, Tara's assured me maybe that we'll be in council chambers for that. Stay tuned. Last resolution.
All right. Moved by Loveland, seconded by Dreyfus, that the meeting of the council of the municipality of Dutton Dunwich closes at 6:57 p.m. All in favor? And that's carried.
Thank you, everyone. Good meeting. Got a lot done again. Thank you, Tracy, for tuning in.
Bye, guys. See you tomorrow. Oh, and